And Marty Keller here in Sacramento, John Donovan, Oceanside. We're two fellows from California talking about this practice we call accountability. And John, I thought it might be a good idea. I don't think we've done this for a while, to have a little back to basics conversation.
Okay.
Assuming we have an audience today of people who just heard about this and they want to know more about it.
Well, I'll tell you what, the people that have heard about this, there's always, whenever I go through the basic material, right, there's always another aspect of it that pops out, and it's like, oh my God, how did I miss that?
Right. Yeah. So assume I could use a refresher.
Okay.
And, which is always true. So it's beginner mind this afternoon.
Okay.
So what is this accountability practice, and how does that, what does that mean? How is that a gift to me? Okay. Or any one of us?
All right. So I'm going to switch to the camera and then go up on the board.
Okay.
And then what I'd like to do is treat you like a participant, and then I'll ask you the question I ask every class, and then go through the basic material. So the first question I ask people, let me say this class is called Intentional Living Accountability Tree Process. And it's the material from the Intentional Living Manual that everybody can find on my webpage, donovancounseling.com. You go on the home page, scroll down, and I think it's the second to the last page. There's two icons or pictures. One is Intentional Living Workbook, Balance Cessation Workbook, and those are both available to anybody who would like to download that material and have that as a reference. The Intentional Living Manual is the information I'm going to go through on the board. And it's broken down into 12 sessions. And it's got a lot more information than what I have on the board. So look through that. And what I would suggest to people, if you're coming to the Zoom class, go through that material, write down any questions you have, and then while you're in the class, you can ask me the question, and I'll clarify the best way I know how, based on what the question is. And usually when somebody asks a question, there's other people in the group that have that same question or a version of that question. So after I introduce myself, talk a little bit about what Intentional Living Accountability Tree Practice is, I asked the newcomers and everybody that's on the Zoom group, what do you want that you do not have? And to identify a quality state of being that you recognize that's outside of yourself, you have not embodied. When I first got into 12 steps, for me, it was the idea I wanted a moment of peace where this brain shut down for a minute, this critical mind just gave me a breath, just a couple breaths where I didn't have to listen to myself, either being self-deprecating or other deprecating. And then from that want, I got that somehow, some mysterious, magical way. And then I saw that I could ask for more. And my next request was to be nonviolent. And I got an experience of myself nonviolent. And it ended up, it is my intent to live in peace. So when you identify that thing that you don't have, it gives you a focus that you didn't have before you identified it. And we're going to talk about that in the basic material, why that's important. So we'll identify what you want that you don't have. And Marty, if you'd be open to, right now in this moment, something you don't have.
I want a life partner.
Okay. Okay. For me, it's a deeper level of peace. And also,
I ain't saying that's the only thing.
okay, well, what else?
I want to feel, I want to feel the love that people give me without resistance.
Okay, all right. Okay. So we're going to talk about the basic material. First, it's identifying what you want that you don't have. And then now, see, I can talk to you about the obstacles. What's standing in your way? What's preventing you from simply moving to this place, state of being that you say you want? And the obstacles to what anybody wants that they recognize they don't have are your experiences, my experiences, which means that these are all personal to you. Anybody that says my experiences are identifying their particular journey through life that's separate, different from everybody else. There may be similarities in your journey, and you picked up your experiences from your family of origin, from your particular parents, from your journey, teachers, peers. So the first obstacle are those experiences that you've accumulated up until this moment. They're held in your conscious and subconscious memories. And this is my depiction of an iceberg. My experiences, conscious, 1/8 of my experiences are held in my conscious mind. 7/8 of my experiences are relegated to the subconscious mind. And I say relegated because it's not your choice to go, oh, I'm going to put this in my conscious, I'm going to put this in my subconscious. You're made as a human being to hold your whole memory and to relegate a certain portion of that to your subconscious so that you're able to make a decision in the moment. If you had to think and consider every little nuance that happened to you every time you made a decision, it would be difficult to make the decision. And the decision is usually around food, shelter, clothing, relationships. Okay. So 7/8 of your experiences have been relegated to the subconscious. And that's where we hold our trauma. That's where we hold the things that were untenable. That's where we hold those pre-verbal traumatic experiences that we didn't know how to deal with. We didn't have the wherewithal to process our own feeling. So they're put into the subconscious. We have terms in the 12-step program and in the therapeutic field where we say we stuff our feelings. So where we stuff them is in our subconscious. So that's the first obstacle for you, just moving to what you say you want.
So what you're saying is, just a quick question. So what you're saying is, I can't get rid of those. I can either be conscious of them and process them, or I can stuff them.
Correct.
Okay.
They are part of the 8/8 of your experiences influence your decision-making process. And that's, and again, it's not because you're you or you're stupid or you're defective. It's because that's the way human beings are. It's just everybody does this, and it's for survival. There's a reason for it. Okay, and that's good. When I'm going through this and you ask questions, that's really good. I like it.
Well, I think one other observation I'd like to make is that that line between the conscious and the subconscious is porous. So some things can come out of my subconscious into my consciousness, and what that may include is putting stuff that's in my conscious back into the subconscious.
Correct.
So it's not like a hunk of concrete. It's more like water. It flows in and out of my awareness.
And thus the icon of iceberg. Yes.
Right.
So it moves back and forth depending on your need.
Right.
And depending on things you're not aware of that make those things happen. Okay.
Yeah.
Good point. So the second thing standing in your way are my beliefs, perceptions, and patterns of behavior that I've developed through my experiences. So my beliefs, perceptions, and patterns of behavior are uniquely mine. Now, there's a lot of similarities, and we tend to group up in groups of similar dysfunction. I'd like to use an analogy that is inflammatory, but I can't think of one, so I'm going to use the one that's inflammatory. Republican, Democrat, far right, far left. These are beliefs and perceptions of the world, your relationship to the world, that are developed from your whole experience. I'm not saying right or left is wrong. I'm just saying you have a proclivity based on your experiences. Okay. The third thing,
and everybody has this.
Everybody has.
Again, it's a common human characteristic.
Yes. Okay. So now I'm talking about these to give people information based on they recognize there's something they don't have. That's an important part of why I'm talking about the outside.
Right.
People that go, oh, I have as much peace as I want, or I got the job I love, and I'm a productive member of society, and I don't have any. I can stay and maintain long-term loving, caring relationships. Well, okay, it's working for you. Kudos to you. If something's not working, that's why we identify what we don't have. These are the obstacles. The last one are the expectations. The expectations of self sound like, are articulated like, I should, I have to, I got to. Why do I? Why am I always? That's an expression of an expectation of self. Expectation of others sound the same way, you only use they should, they got to, they supposed to. How come they? Why are they always? So that's the expectation.
Sounds like you've been living in my head, John.
The expectations come from your experiences, your unique conscious and subconscious experience, the beliefs, perceptions, and patterns of behavior. Okay, so those are the obstacles. Now, what I want to do is tell you again that your obstacles are your experiences, your beliefs, perceptions, patterns of behavior, and your expectations. But I'd like to say it in a different way.
Okay.
So that you have a contrast to what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that right now in this moment, because this is the moment where you've identified something you don't have, that everything you think is an obstacle for you having it. Otherwise, it would be different. Everything you say right now leads you to where you're at, away from what you say you want. Everything you do right now is an obstacle. Experiences, beliefs, expectations. And I'm going to add to this list. I'm also going to say, and I want to make this clear, that anything in this moment that I choose not to think about, not to say, or not to do is part of that obstacle, because you haven't embodied this, whatever it is you're looking for. So what I'm telling you right now in this moment, everything you think, say, do, choose not to think, choose not to say, choose not to do, is the obstacle standing in your way. So based on what you hear me say, what's the feeling in your body? Everything you think, say,
Yeah,
do.
I'm sad.
Okay, where do you feel that in your body, Mark?
Right here.
Right in your
Here and then
right
right.
your eyes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and right in my upper chest.
In your upper chest. So just take a deep breath. Excuse me. And notice that sensation below your eyes and in your upper chest. Just notice the body sensation, feeling. Call it feeling, tone. Just pay attention to that sensation. Because I have something to tell you and everybody else that's listening to that, that's playing along with us. What I want to tell you now, that you've noticed something internal, a body sensation, based on what you heard me say, that everything I just told you is no longer true. Now, I don't know if everything you think, say, do, choose not think, not say, not do, is standing in your way, because you added an experience to yourself through your feeling body. The way we gain experiences is not through our rational brain. We gain them through emotional, feeling frequencies that we embody. So my experience as an infant, being brutalized or molested, whatever that fear, unknowing, I don't know, is stuck in my body, and I have no words for it. When I pay attention to my body, especially after saying I was molested or incested, there's a feeling tone. Yeah, that must have been terrifying. I don't remember. And I take a breath, and the feeling is the healing. I don't have to know. I don't have to know what it was, because these memories are, especially in your subconscious, are subjective. They're looking for frequency. They're looking for tonality. They're looking for something similar that creates a feeling tone inside myself that then alerts me pain's about to happen, hurt's about to happen, being ostracized or left, abandonment, rejection, self-worth, surrender, trust. Okay. So again, I'd like to tell you what I just told you in a different way. What I'm telling everybody, you, Marty, and everybody that's listening to this, that the way to what you want is through your emotional feeling body. And I wish I had another way to say to somebody, especially raised in this society or on this planet, actually, that the way to something is through your feeling body. In America, in my experience of the United States, men don't cry, men don't complain. They pull themselves up by the bootstraps, get on with the work, quit complaining and whining, get the job done, and shut the fuck up. Okay. So we've been trained, conditioned to stuff our feelings. And our feelings, our emotional and feeling bodies is our Google map to fulfillment. So no, for me to move to peace, necessarily I have to pay attention to my body. Paying attention to my rational mind got me in a place where I recognize that I'm not at peace. Okay. So we have, and I'm going to put my fingers up, an emotional feeling body that from childhood dysfunction, childhood family of origin dysfunction, childhood trauma, I separated myself from. And I'm saying that this is the Google map to fulfillment. This is telling me what feels good, what don't feel good, based on what's happening in the moment. And I relied on my rational mind to figure this out. And the best I could do with my rational mind was to get to a place where I recognized I didn't have peace. I haven't embodied peace. I was miserable, obsessive, alcoholic, codependent, and full of avoidant behaviors. So what we're going to do, what this material is designed to do, is first identify that we're separated from our emotional feeling body, and then find a way to reconnect to our feeling emotional body, and see what happens. See, when you felt that around your outside, under your eyes and your upper chest, whatever happened here, that was in alignment with that. It created whatever this is, like separation, isolation, and it's in alignment with this. Now, the trauma I received as an infant, child, toddler, it made sense that I would develop a behavior that kept people away from me. So I became addict, alcoholic, violent in my communication style, isolated, alone, I would say miserable, full of contempt. And I had no place to, like, why? Well, I didn't know about family of origin, childhood trauma. So the why was either I'm defective, there's something wrong with me. I just got to look in the Bible and they'll tell me that that's the truth. Something wrong with me. And I'm not down in the Bible. I just want to, the way I was taught it, that there's something wrong with me. I need to beg for forgiveness. Okay. I'm going to get sidetracked here. So I had the experience of worthlessness or burden. I don't know. The experience that I was a problem. The behavior mirrored the experience, and I didn't know that this was happening in here, and that this information was hooked into my reticular activating system, and I'll explain that a bit later. And the survival mechanism, which ended me up in this situation. Have you got any clarifying questions right now? Or thoughts or comments? I'll give you a minute.
I jotted a note here. Would you just elaborate a little bit on the situational mechanism that forced me to separate from my feeling body?
Okay.
What was that all about? How did that work? How did that happen?
Okay. I'm turning the volume down a bit. Okay. Let me to explain that, I'm going to ask you 3 questions.
Okay.
Okay. First question, and I'm asking everybody that's listening to this. First question. And then I'm going to explain to you why you answered exactly the way you answered this question. This is like, and I'm not clairvoyant or magical or anything, it's just, it's in alignment with what's happening with you. First question. Have you ever hurt somebody you loved, regretted it, and then found yourself doing it again, usually in the same way? Like, I'll never do that again. And 5.5 seconds later, boom, you're doing it again. Yelling, screaming. Okay. Second question. Have you ever been in an argument with somebody, and in the middle of the argument, got that you're on the wrong side of the argument, and found yourself continuing with your argument anyway? Okay. Third question. Have you ever been in a situation where you knew what you're about to do, you would regret big time? You even heard a little voice in your head say, whoa, whoa, stop, don't do that. What are you doing? No, no. And you found that you couldn't or wouldn't stop that action and or behavior. Okay. My answers were yes, yes, and yes. Okay.
Well, those are my answers.
Those are, oh, okay. So
actually, my answers are yes, yes, and hell yes.
Hell yes. So I'm going to explain why you see what you're doing, and then find yourself doing that thing you don't want to do. And it's in Romans 17. Paul wrote it down, and I'm going to paraphrase it. I know what to do, and I find myself doing that thing I don't want to do. I know the right thing to do, and I always find doing the things I hate. That's paraphrasing. Okay, the answer is, why do I do this? Knowing, seeing, you've been hearing. Whoa, don't. You have in your brainstem. This is a diagram of a brain, cutaway of a brain. Brainstem and midbrain. A thing called the reticular activating system. And the reticular activating system is a net-like group of cells that permeate the brainstem, and all your nerves, all your memories enter your brain from your body through the brainstem, and then they're filtered to coincide with what you believe about yourself, with what your perceptions of the world are, and what excuse me, the patterns of behaviors that you find yourself in. So it filters out.
I was going to say, that's like a programmed filtering mechanism.
Yes. And if my belief is, Marty, an example of this, if my belief is I'm not enough, there's something wrong with me, and somebody pays me a compliment, I'll sidestep the compliment because it doesn't fit my belief about myself. I'll deny it. I'll say, oh, that was easy. You don't know. Oh, you must got me mixed up with somebody else. I'll go to humor because I can't receive that compliment because it doesn't fit what I know, my perceptions of myself and my beliefs about myself based on the experiences I've had and the expectations that I've developed. So my expectations, you tell me there's something wrong with what I just did. That's what the people who love me have been doing all my life. And when you pay me a compliment, it's like, okay, no, I'm not going to receive that. And I'm not doing this consciously.
Right.
The reaction response. And the reaction response.
So just if I could, my way of saying this is my programming doesn't have any room for that information.
Correct.
So the reticular activating system, which is programmed to hear certain things, can't hear that. So therefore it triggers this rejection response that you were talking about.
Okay, fight, flight, freeze, please. Fight is an adrenaline flush through the body where something is perceived as life-threatening. The adrenals kick in, pump blood to my extremities so I can fight. It disconnects me from any capacity I have to consider or deduce, like my emotional body and my rational brain. So it puts me in a reactive mode, and whatever's coming at me is the enemy because it's life-threatening. And this example is a somewhat benign example. Somebody paying me a compliment, I go into flight. No, that's not me. I back away from it.
Right.
I remember a woman who said to me, John, I love you. And I felt myself backing up. And I wondered at that. It's like, what, I don't understand that. Now I do. Reticular activating system, subconscious pool of information. Something somewhere in my childhood, I heard, I love you, whack, or I love you, demeaning, diminishing verbal violence. Or the violence is, I'm doing this because I love you. So my automatic subconscious response to I love you was to back up, actually physically back up, get away from her ability to swing and connect with me. So that's an example. Subconscious pool of information trauma hooked into this filtering system that is also hooked into the survival mechanism, which when alerted, pumps adrenaline through my body. So that I'm in I have the capacity, fight, flight, freeze, please. And the please, I'm glad they added that one. Because I found myself in certain times of my life apologizing for being in a space. Oh, I'm sorry. Somebody's walking and they get close to me. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm in your way. It's like, I now understand that it's a survival reaction response from trauma that I'm not even aware of because it's in my subconscious. So fight, me doing violence to somebody, flight, me running away from somebody from perceived violence done to me, freeze, I go blank, I'm not in the room anymore. People are talking to me and I'm just like blank. Or please, oh, I'm sorry. Let me get out of your way. Oh shit, I'm in your way still. That's a reaction response based on information on a frequency, feeling, emotional level. I may have words for it. I may have details for it. My body has logged that. If there's anything similar in my current reality that matches, I'm like, boom. We can understand somebody coming from a combat zone, walking down the street, they hear a car backfire. Boom, they're on the ground. It's like, what's that? Oh, he was in combat. We understand that. But somebody saying in a room with somebody they say they love, hearing that person, I love you, and then backing away. It's like, What is that? Same thing. Complex post-traumatic stress. Complex post-traumatic stress. Hooked into
Well, so I'd like to dwell on that for a second, if you're open to it, which is that the truth is, because the mechanism in our brain that responds to trauma doesn't give a shit about what the trauma is from the external stimulus,
right.
that for a little child, when I was a little kid and my brother died and my mother and father went into grief and didn't include me in it.
Correct.
That's like being in a war zone, a combat zone for a little kid. It's the equivalent at an emotional level of that soldier in Afghanistan facing an IED.
Correct.
So I think that's important to really get that this has this direct immediate impact on our little brains. And because of the nature of complex PTSD, which I call PTSD of 1,000 paper cuts, there's an accumulative effect because there's nothing intervening to prevent it or to assuage it or to heal it while it's going on. It just accumulates. Age 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, 2 years, 3 years. It's just happening more and more and more. And so our little brain is doing nothing but creating that survival mechanism that you've got there on the board, because of these regular iterations of traumatic emotional violence. And sometimes some of us have more than just emotional violence. Some of us had physical and or sexual violence.
Yes. And we've forgotten about it.
Right.
It's in our subconscious.
Because it was just normal.
Yes. And we don't know it's there. And yet it's active in our everyday life, at breakfast, at lunch, at dinner, at deciding which way we want to go, at our marriages, at our funerals, at our confirmations, at our school, at our looking at our, it's there.
Driving down the highway.
Yes, driving down, especially driving down the highway. Okay. So the reason anybody answered yes, and yes, hurt somebody you love, do it again, get an argument, continue, find yourself in a situation where you know you're going to regret doing it. Reticular activating system filtered through a pool of misinformation to fit your belief about yourself, and that subconscious, hooked into the survival mechanism. And the survival mechanism is there to keep you alive. So I want to use the example of being in a room of a couple people and having a benign conversation, and somebody raises their eyebrow and I go into a freeze. I go into, I'm lost. I'm like, I'm not hearing anybody anymore. So back here, somebody raised an eyebrow and something happened that I wasn't able to process through. So this says, watch out. Survival mechanism says, fight, flight, freeze, please. And at that moment, freeze was the option that it chose to keep me alive. See, this mechanism is looking out for my best interest, albeit misinformed. This energy that creates my survival is a benign, helpful energy. And in real life, when we were living in caves and saber-toothed tigers were roaming around, it worked really well. I didn't have, I wasn't in the cave. I didn't see the saber-toothed tiger. But I can imagine that if somebody was walking towards the cave and they felt something, they didn't equivocate. They beat it to the cave and then check later to see what it might be. That's the survival mechanism. So I'm going to use the example. The toast is burned. I'm screaming, yelling, slamming doors and walking away. And the toast is not a saber-toothed tiger. To my little boy's body, the toast is the saber-toothed tiger. In my family, 4 young boys, I want to say food was scarce. So if somebody messed up a loaf of bread or burnt the toast, there was hell to pay because we did not have the money to go out and buy another loaf. Now today, toast is burned. Hell, I'll buy a new toaster. I'm able to take care of myself. That little boy's body does not know that. And it's in a reactive response, pumping adrenaline, because back when I was a young kid, wasting food was not allowed. Spilling milk. I mean, milk costs money. We don't have a whole lot. We got this much for it till next Saturday. Better make it last, otherwise you're gonna go hungry. So that happened, and there were times where I was fishing around for leftovers to eat. Okay, so I have this experience of hunger that wasn't processed. Nobody came to me and said, "Well, I know you're hungry, and I know you're scared, and so we're gonna work on this, or I'm gonna," what, it didn't happen. The toast is burnt, fight, freeze. I'm in some kind of avoidant behavior, explosive behavior, and I have no rational reason in today's world for that. So then I go to, well, it must be me, or it's obvious that they don't give a shit. So I go into blame or judgment. And the blame or judgment reinforces the trauma. When I say I'll never do that again, too bad, John, because the next time it happens, it might be somebody's dropping their plate on the floor. I don't know. I'm in this rage again, knowing consciously, not a big deal, not a big deal, chill. I don't have the capacity because I'm in my survival mode and I don't know it subconsciously. Addicts experience that. Anybody with any compulsive behavior, overeating, gambling, shoe shopping, for Gabriel Monte is CD shopping. You find yourself doing the behavior over and over, saying profoundly that you don't want to do it, and then find yourself in the behavior. Survival mechanisms, reticular activating system hooked into trauma information. Oh my God. Okay. So what I want to talk about is how do we get out of this? What I know is that to heal my trauma, I need to create an emotion that is equal to or greater than what's stored in here. And based on our conversation about being raised in this society or on this planet, don't cry, don't feel, don't be a sissy, don't be estranged from my emotional body. How in the hell am I going to create an emotion when the emotion is the fucking enemy? The feeling of disappointment on the toast, simply going, oh, that's disappointing, is not available to me. So I go into a rage because the feeling of disappointment is hooked into some pain. I can't say, well, that's disappointing. Because if I go, I'm disappointed, this flares up and I'm in a survival mechanism. And I don't even know that I'm disappointed.
And I would just observe from my own experience, the longer the emotional energy has been left in an unhealed state,
Yes.
the more intense the outburst when it is touched.
Exactly. This is a cumulative, they say in the
Right.
addiction, but this is a cumulative disease. Oh yeah. So the more I stuff it, the more it wants to express.
Yeah.
This, your experience, the experience you had will express. If you don't heal it, here's what I was told. If I don't heal, I transmit. So if I don't heal my trauma, I transmit my trauma onto the people around. Therein lies intergenerational passing on of the dysfunction.
Oh, it's more subtle than that even, because I can not only transmit it to you, but I can transmit it into my body and affect my physical health.
Yes. Oh my God, yes. Yeah, we're just touching on the surface of what this information provides.
Right.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, bad news, to heal, you have to create an emotion equal to a rate. The good news is, this will heal if you create an emotional state that's equal to or greater. That's the good news. How? I say this process is simply owning the results of the misinformation where you find yourself without blame or judgment. Simply saying the truth without recriminating, incriminating, self-deprecatory, or other blame judgment about where you find yourself. So my first example was, hi, my name is John, I'm an alcoholic. My truth. In a place where there's no blame or judgment. In fact, they may have clapped. And it's like, holy shit. I felt that. I do not need to know how to do an emotion. My body has
In
not.
fact, that doesn't help.
No, it doesn't help. Trying to have an emotion is the furthest thing you can get from an emotion. My body remembers and is in an emotional state 24/7, however many years I am old. I can deny it. I can dismiss it. I can diminish it. I can stop it. I can do all those things. I cannot not be in an emotional state. So when I get to this truth, the emotion happens, which validates the pain, which is healing, and changes the information going to the reticular activating system so that the results automatically change. So I'm going to John an alcoholic. Took a breath. My first thought, I'm coming back. Holy shit, how did that happen? Before that, I didn't want to be there. These guys are crazy. They got this book they're talking about. They're talking about all the bad stuff they were having. I mean, I just could not see what they were doing. As soon as I heard myself say, I'm John, an alcoholic, it didn't matter what they said. I'm coming back. There was a healing that happened. I went from reactive to proactive in that one statement. I'm an addict. I'm an alcoholic. Another example of this is when I realized that I was mean. And I had children at the time. They were preteen and teenagers. So the truth was, I'm mean to my children. What? No, whoa. No. End result. Without blame or judgment, I'm mean to my children. Took a breath. Oh my God, that hurt. That hurt. This hurt. And I couldn't say it hurts. I hurt. Holy wow. It is my intent to be a loving, caring, nurturing father. That intent is a directive to this mechanism to clean this up. And when I said it, I intend to be a loving, caring, nurturing father, there was a healing happen in my subconscious. I'm mean to my children. Frequency, feeling, tone. Emotion is the wave of information. The feeling is the reception of the information through my body. It opens up, releases, and I'm lucid. I'm not in an adrenaline state. Like, oh, I was only mean to them because, you know, they got to be tough. It's like that. No, that's the bullshit story I came up. I'm mean to my children. Hurt. Oh my God, and it wasn't even words. It was just this feeling of sadness. I intend to be a loving, caring, nurturing father. When I say I intend to be a loving, caring, nurturing father, in this feeling tone, it is a directive and an accumulation of new experience that I add to this old, which changes, heals my perception and patterns of behavior. Automatically, Marty, automatically, because this came out automatically from the trauma. One of the best things about Adult Children of Alcoholics 12-step group is they have a list. I call them 14 traits. The first time I walked into one of those groups, they read that and they call it the problem at the time. They didn't have them delineated in traits. And they read the problem: fear of authority figures. Love those we could pity. We confuse love and pity. We married those we think we could rescue. We either became alcoholics. It's like I was like looking around, wondering how did they know I was coming? They nailed me. But say now I understood that these traits are similar in people coming from trauma. It was like out in the open. No, I don't know how to do long-term loving care relationships because the trauma separated me from my emotional feeling body is what I need to get close to somebody and maintain proximity through not through my rational mind, because my rational mind tells me they're dangerous and it don't make sense or makes them the enemy. Oh, she's just trying to emasculate me. No. Here's an example of me thinking a woman's emasculating. I come home late. I walk in the door. I hear, "Where the hell have you been?" And I'm like, "Who the hell do you think you're talking to? I'm the man of the house. I work hard. You shouldn't treat me like that. I don't deserve this disrespect." Okay. Defense. Now I walk. Somebody says, "John, where the hell have you been?" I go, "Oh, I see you're concerned. I see you love me, and I see you're worried about me. Let me tell you where I've been, because this is the relationship I've been looking for, and it's been right in front of me the whole time. I could not recognize it. Reticular activating system filtering out. Watch out, women are dangerous." That was true about my mother. There we have it.
Couple of you're doing good, John. A couple of points I'd like to cover
Okay.
before we wrap up. Number one, can you talk a bit about the iterative nature of this work? We used to put it with the big heart-shaped thing, and repeat.
And repeat. Okay. So this process is what we call the accountability tree process. No blame, no judgment. Simply stating the data of where you find yourself. Just I am here without blame or judgment. See, that's key. If I say this and don't blame or judge myself, I would like people to consider that that's unconditional. There's no condition on me. Like say it right or don't say a certain one. No, my truth, no blame, no judgment, is me experiencing unconditional space. You call it love. I want to call it love from myself. And if I'm in the rooms with somebody, I'm also receiving it from them, because we're all looking for the same thing. And they understand the 14 traits and what happened. So I'm able to say what we normally call the character defects and not have a condition placed on me about how come, why, or question. Unconditional data. That creates a frequency, a feeling tone. And then in that feeling tone, I say I intend, and it uses the power of the feeling tone to reframe the pain, drop back down into my subconscious and reframe, change something, take the edge off one of the instances. I have these little fish hooks, take the edge off so that the information coming to me is different. I got a different perception about myself. I got a different belief, subconscious. I intend is a directive to this mechanism to find that for me, just like I found unworthiness for me. I'm unworthy. It goes, oh, okay, unworthy. Oh, here you go. I'm unworthy. This is proof. I intend to hold myself in high regard. Oh, hold high regard. Automatically, I find myself noticing, even if it's just noticing how self-deprecating I've become. That's good news. Because when I notice it, I can go, no, I don't accept that anymore. I intend to be kind to myself. I intend to nurture myself. That's self-validation. This self-validation is what I didn't get in my childhood. Like, I see you're upset. I see you're angry. Wow, what's going on with you? Instead of, you can't be that way, you shouldn't be that way, boom, boom, get out of the way, go to your room.
I'll give you something to be mad about.
I'll give you something to be mad about. That's proactive, living intentionally. And you talked about the reiteration. And this arrow down here that goes back into the abyss means do it again, do it again. And you find yourself in that space that was elusive before. How? Telling the truth, feeling the feeling, creating an intent. Heart space. One of the things I intended long time ago, it was my intent to be the bridge, and it was specifically for men because I was working in the men's jail. I intend to be the bridge from here to here. Voila. The bridge from here, self-recriminating, to compassion. Yes, I'm a criminal. Yes, I did heinous things. Yes, it is my intent to be kind. That's the bridge. So this is a repeatable process. And I've done this. If I had to really consider the number, I'm like 4,000, 6,000, 8,000, a lot. And I intend to do it again when I find myself in a behavior that comes from my trauma. Yes, I will do it again. I will do it again. I will do it. In fact, now, if something spontaneously pops out of me, I'm driving down the road, oh, you fucking asshole. Oh, another opportunity. I'm an asshole. Oh, yeah, I intend to be kind. I intend to be a defensive driver.
I asked you this question because my experience is oftentimes when I first started this work, and I see this happens a lot with people that are just starting out, is there's a desire almost that, if just doing this once will make everything better.
Yeah.
Or it's like, I set my intention and then the same thing happened again.
Yeah, it will. It will.
So,
I guarantee it.
Yeah. So I just wanted to share with folks that this is just as the traumatizing compacting down in our subconscious of these 1,000 paper cuts of trauma accumulated over years, so too the release of it takes time. And oftentimes I'm dealing with somebody now who's just several people actually dealing with what they call unexplained bouts of grief. And for no reason, I just start crying. And I say, are you willing to consider maybe that's what healing feels like? As you've made a commitment to love yourself, accept yourself just as you are, your body is shaking off these toxins, and it's not doing it according to your mental schedule. It's doing it because you love yourself enough to allow this to happen. And so that the point to be made is that the more I do this work, the more the intentions that I set for myself begin to accumulate power.
Yes.
Because like you said, when I allow myself to feel what I feel, you asked me at the beginning how I felt, and I felt the sadness and this energy here and here. The truth is, as you were saying, I was giving myself unconditional acceptance to permit that to be.
Yes.
Which I never got as a little boy. And so now I'm replacing the trauma that I got as a little kid saying, no, don't feel that way, with I get to feel this way.
Mm-hmm.
And the more I do that, the more the old stuff gets healed. And so that when the inevitable experience happens again, I'm now in the place where I go, oh, there it is again. What do I want? As opposed to being controlled by it.
Correct.
This is what you call, I'm now living intentionally. I get to create intentions based on my awareness of myself, because I've done this work for a long time, and I become, I now have this instantaneous awareness of the possibility that I didn't have when my instantaneous awareness was fight, flight, freeze, or please.
Yes.
So we're running to the end here. Just one quick other thing I'd like you to address, if you'd be willing to, and you hinted at it a minute ago, and that is the question of why this is so much more powerfully done in a group setting.
Here's how I put this for me in my awareness of what was happening to me when I joined meetings ever. My trauma came in the presence of other people. Necessarily my healing is going to come in the presence of other people. I'm being witnessed and not judged. And I can feel that. It's a validation. It's like I go to a meeting and say, I'm feeling sad, hurt, and I'm in this grief process. Nobody says, oh, don't do that. They just, oh, yeah, John, I'm hearing you.
Or nobody tries to stop you from feeling that way, or put their arm around you, or anything.
Or fix me.
Right.
Yeah. I'm validated. And that's what I do with my grandson. If he's crying, I see you're upset, or depending on the situation.
Right.
I see you're angry, or I see you're upset, or I see you're disappointed. And I use feeling words so that he can like get the concept of, oh, I'm in a feeling state. And he's not bad. He doesn't get chastised. He doesn't get ostracized. He's not punished for having a feeling that he does not yet know how to regulate.
Tell people who are hearing this for the first time how old your grandson is.
Right now he's 6.
All right, so did we get that as 6-year-olds?
Say that again?
I said, did we get that as 6-year-olds?
No.
And so this is the ABCs of accountability. John, I really appreciate your going into depth on this. Anybody who's watching this who would like John to elaborate on anything, please just shoot us a note. At the end of the podcast, there'll be a list of John's and my email addresses. You can send us questions. You can also find out how to attend any one of our accountability practice meetings. There are 5 in our little orbit. We have one on Monday evenings, Tuesday afternoons, Wednesday afternoons, Thursday evenings, Saturday morning, all Pacific time. We'd be happy to send you, they're all on Zoom. So it doesn't matter where in the world you are. If you'd like to participate, come to a meeting. You don't have to talk. You can just listen and see how the process works for yourself. Everybody is welcome. And so with that, as always, John, I'd love to leave you the last word.
When I first came to this podcast, I was like thinking, I don't want to do a whole lot. And I came and was open. And usually when I was going to meetings and I found it the hardest, it's like I really don't want to go to them. And I found myself going, those were where I got the gems. And not that I didn't get gems with the meetings I went to, but they just taken my body where my mind didn't want to be, and experiencing healing. So it is my intent to offer this information to as many people as possible in the shortest amount of time, and bring relief to as many people as possible. Just by absolutely